We have the Bishop, Anglican Diocese of Jos, and Archbishop of Jos Province, Benjamin Kwashi. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
You're welcome to our news segment from Jos. Let's start this way. The crisis in Jos for the past 10 years has been on. There are lots of insinuations into what really are the causes. Some are saying it is political, some say it is ethnic, some are even saying the battle is for the soul of Jos. What are your views on this?
I do not have views as such, except to say that by my calling we are bound to garner from the wealth of truth that exists. And I will respond to your question in three different segments. The first one is that the leaders, state leaders who have apparatus of government, they are supposed to provide security for people. They are supposed to provide food security, job security for the entire citizenry that voted them into office. Now, the absence of that can lead to any crisis. Secondly, there is also the security agencies who ought to establish the rule of law and to enthrone truth in all that they do and to make sure that justice is done. But thirdly, there is also the community that has lived in Jos for a long time. What happened on the 7th of September 2001 was simply, at the beginning, what we were told was a girl crossing the road and where people were praying in the mosque. And that began a fresh crisis that we've never seen like it before. A week later, we heard it was political. And then as it went on over the years, consistently in 10 years, so many things have gone into it. So it's difficult to just localize it to just politics, to religion, or to even land matters, because people were traveling either through Jos or from Jos, and they inadvertently ran into this crisis and have died. And corpses have gone back to Enugu, to Lagos, to Oyo, to Sokoto, to Maiduguri, to Potiskum, to everywhere. So the nation is being engulfed into the crisis in Jos, largely because A, the political leadership has left the security provisional purposes of its governance. Secondly, the security agencies that ought to, they know these criminals, they know the people behind these people, they know what is going on, and each time people are arrested, they just keep going free. But thirdly also is that the community has just become fragmented, unfragmented, and in 10 years, what would have been solved in 2001 has become cancerous.
That has been with us for the past 10 years. Now, the role of religious leaders, so to say, in the various worship centers, what they preach in the mosque or even in churches, and there are these accusations that the preachings have always been part of what has been fueling this crisis. Your take on this?
I think that is true, but also the problem we have is that there's a contest, and it is a contest between law and order and justice. So the moment people find that they can do anything and get away with it, then they hide under the vestments of religion. If the law and order of the land is adhered to, and when people violate the law, they are taken and there is justice and it is visible, then people begin to learn how to obey the rules and how to obey the laws of the land. But it would seem that from 2001, there are people who can say anything and get away. There are people who can incite people and get away. There are people who can just command, as it were, violence and get away with it. And it seems that the law is helpless. So the contest is beyond just religion now. It's a contest between the laws of the land and some religious leaders. Now, unless the political willpower is brought to bear upon law and order, the two books on the plateau that I know, the Quran and the Bible, they are not anti-patriotism, they are not anti-people, they are not anti-nationalism. After all, those were the two books that helped build Nigeria.
Okay, well, I remember during the inauguration of Governor Junajam, you were there, and what we can put in quote, the sermon on the mountain then. Some things came up. You specifically, you spoke about the issue of having the truth, and also that the government needs to get people that will really be about peace and give correct information on situation. Has things changed then and now, 100 days after the inauguration?
Quite honestly, I think we are getting more muddled up into the issues, as it were, and there can be two explanations to that, none of which I will speak